Welcome to Into Heals University, the Science and Soul podcast, where we cut through the noise and simplify self-healing. Because knowledge empowers, but action transforms. This is your roadmap to self-healing, giving you the tools to navigate your journey, take control, and create real change in your life. Can sound actually heal? I've been using meditations to help with decreasing stress, healing, reaching goals, and I'll play frequency sounds in the background, hoping that it does what it says online. Different hertz, do different things, but does it actually work? And does sound actually heal? I decided to run a little experiment. On Saturday morning, my husband and I put on some frequency music, played it across the house, and we wanted to see what did our dogs do. And lo and behold, they were out cold. They were fast asleep in their own little zone. And I looked at him and said, well, why aren't we like that? How come we're not zoned out on the floor? Is it working in the background? Like, should we just be lying there, diving into a deep sleep? So we both kind of agreed, okay, it's doing something, but what? Hard to say. Did we feel relaxed? Maybe a little bit. We do get to the point where we say, maybe we should put on some 80s tunes and get our bodies up and going. So is it healing in the morning? Likely. We know it's doing something because it knocked our dogs out cold. But what is actually happening with sound therapy? This has to be one of the hardest podcasts that I have researched, because it's not because there wasn't a lot out there. It's because there was too much out there. I understand it. I get it. I use it. I embody it. But how do I explain or show someone else what it feels like to use sound in their healing? It's so vast, yet it's so simple. When I thought about it, it's like trying to teach someone how to breathe, explaining everything from oxygen to capillaries of the lungs and the little microvilli that protect us from invaders, how it's connected to your heart, how it's connected to your brain, how it can speed up and slow down as needed. It can cause pain when grieving and pump out rapidly when excited. The lungs are an incredible organ. They give us life. But who takes the time to think about breathing or how important it is? Without it, there is no life. Every moment you take a breath, you're talking to your whole body. The cells in your lungs are so expansive that if you pulled them out, you'd fill up an entire tennis court. When was the last time you were aware of your lungs? Well, maybe if you were, running and you couldn't breathe, you probably were hyper aware of your lungs. But what if you became hyper aware of what your lungs can actually do? What if you could control your breathing to the point you could change the chemical balance in your body? What if you could look at Tylenol, memorize its chemical structure, and recreate it through your breath as a super powerful human? That'd be pretty cool. Would you take the time to learn it? And then would you take the time to manipulate it? That could be a personal superpower. Now, I don't know if this actually exists, but I'm just trying to get my point across that taking the time to learn and experience something new is really the never-ending journey of self-awareness. The human body is capable of so much more than you can possibly imagine. But yet here we are trying to self-heal, learning about our bodies. There's a lot. So we're trying to heal. We're doing all kinds of great things. We exercise. We're taking in healthy foods. We're slowly making lifestyle changes. Yet we're eating crappy food, drinking sugar. We're eating sugary foods, thinking about all the things we hate. And every one of those things affects every cell in your body. We really do ignore the power of the body. It really does put up with a lot. The body has a lot of self-protecting mechanisms in it. It can detox. It has an immune system. It does allow us for a few indulges. But at the end of the day, healing means finding balance and taking care of yourself. And sound healing is another way to offer healing. Sound healing has been used for centuries, from ancient churches to Tibetan singing bowls, tuning forks. But how does it actually work? We're going to dive into a little bit of the science here to help you understand how it works. Does it work? Well, the answer is yes, it helps. We are in an era now where we do so much research that we are debunking a lot of things that don't work, and we're finding out why the things that they've been using for thousands of years, we're understanding how it works. And I find that the more that I believe in something, the more likely it's going to work. If I don't understand it, I'm not likely to believe in it. And if I don't believe in it, it may not work. Now, you might not believe in getting punched in the face, but if you get punched in the face, it's going to hurt. So, okay, being around a lot of nice singing bowls, would it help you? Likely would help you a little bit. Obviously, if you take a medication that has serious side effects, you may not believe in the medication, but it might still do what it's going to do. However, when you understand why something works, it gives you the opportunity to use it in its right form and manipulate it so that it works well for you. Now, I can confidently say sound is a thing. Think about thunder. It just vibrates. If you have loud music and the bass is bang, 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 you can feel that vibration in your body. So yeah, you can feel certain sounds. So we know that our bodies can absorb sound. But what's actually happening in there on a cellular level? It's kind of hard to even wrap your brain around. What if you could see sound? What would it look like? What if you could hear light? What would it sound like? If you could feel sound and light, what would it feel like? Think of the speed of sound. If you could hear your cells moving, what would that sound like? We know that animals can hear things that we can't hear. It's just your senses. So we know it's there, but when you can't feel it, when you can't feel something working, you sometimes can brush it off. But the science behind how sound works is rather fascinating to me. The best place to start is your subconscious. Remember, it's always picking up on sound and light, and it brings it to your awareness. At a microscopic level, all cells are vibrating. They're moving, but we're not aware of it. So let's learn about it so we can become aware of it. I'm going to oversimplify this a little bit, but bear with me. When I teach physiology at the massage school, when they first start out, I try and make it as simple as possible, and then we get into more detail. The simplicity of it all. I think most people have heard of DNA and cells. We are made up of somewhere between 30 and 70 to 100 trillion cells. And those cells all contain DNA in them. And those cells can talk to each other. We'll dive into how a little bit later. It's actually really interesting science, but let's stick to the simplicity for the purposes of sound. These cells talk to each other through electricity. That electricity is what makes our muscles move, our heart pump, everything that we're building. We're building proteins inside that DNA. So now we've got this transmission. Well, that transmission is based on one neuron to the next. And between one neuron to the next, there's this tiny little synapse. And there's something in that synapse called a neurotransmitter. Think of your neurotransmitter like the person knocking on your door to bring you that message. And they've got a piece of paper in hand saying, hey, this is what I want you to do. Hormones, neurotransmitters. You might have heard of dopamine. Hey, the motivating you hormone. Or serotonin, balancing your moods. There's all kinds of different hormones. There's hormones that cause excitement, and then there's hormones that cause relaxation. But you need these neurotransmitters. So now you've got a message going bang, 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 cell to cell to cell. And this is creating electricity. And wherever there's electricity, there's an electric field. You can measure the electric field in the body. Some people call this the aura, but you can measure it. So you can tell what's going on with that person electrically. I'm sure at some point in time, there's going to be some sort of AI that can just read your aura and say, okay, here's the electricity, therefore we know everything that's going on in your body. I suspect one day we'll probably have that. I don't think I'll live long enough, but who knows? That'll be kind of a cool thing to see. Anyways, back to the cells. We have 70 to 100 trillion cells, and these cells are all talking to each other through the nervous system as well through another system. That's creating an electrical field. Okay, got it. But what happens is those cells are vibrating. They're moving, and they're moving at different frequencies. And those neurotransmitters are also creating this frequency. Now, back to my little science class. I'll tell my students, you got 70 to 100 trillion cells in your body with a little bit of DNA in them that's making proteins. That makes us a human. Those cells come together to create 4 different types of tissues. They create muscle tissue. They create epithelial tissue, which is your skin. And if you stick your tongue on the side of your cheek, that will be an epithelial tissue. You got epithelial tissues in your intestines. So there's like that little nice skin. Just think skin. Then you've also got connective tissue, and you got nervous tissue. Connective tissue, think fascia, think blood, liquid is actually a connective tissue that connects your whole body. And you've got nervous tissue. Your nervous tissue and your connective tissue will interact with the other tissues. So the nervous tissue is going to connect to your epithelial tissue and your muscle tissue and your connective tissue. And your connective tissue is going to connect with your nervous system or your nervous tissue as well as your muscle tissue and your epithelial tissue. So really, we've got 2 types of really important tissues, which is nervous tissue and connective tissue. And then we've got the muscles and the skin. Well, muscles and skin don't really do a whole lot when it comes to communication. They more listen. And the nervous system talks to it. And the fascia, or the connective tissue, is the environment to which the body lives in. So as a manual therapist, I do a lot of work with the nervous system and the fascia system. But I digress. I don't want to go too far. Let's get back to sound frequency. What does this have to do with sound frequency? It has everything to do with sound frequency. You've only really got 4 different types of tissues in your body. And I say this to my massage therapist and osteopaths. You're only working with these 4 tissues. So you've got to think, what tissue am I working with? You're trying to ask the body to do something. Whether you're taking a medication, you're eating food, you're jogging, you're walking, whatever you're doing, you're sending messages to those 4 tissues to do something. And a sound can manipulate what those tissues are doing. Now, those tissues come together to create an organ. That organ comes together with other organs to create a system. There's 11 systems in the body. And those systems come together to make you as an organism. So now let's say you take a pill and you pop the pill. Maybe it's for pain relief, and you're trying to affect the receptors for pain. That would be one of those neuroreceptors, and the neurotransmitters, I should say. What if sound comes in and the body's like, oh, hey, got the message, I'm good to go. So sometimes medication doesn't work. Sometimes, depending on what's going on, that medication will affect you differently depending on what's going on in your life. So think of sound like a medication. Some days you might need more Tylenol. Sometimes you might need a stronger medication. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't work. It's a frequency sound for your body. Now, let's also think about the sensitivity of your cells. So if you have taken some type of a drug, we'll call it cocaine, and your receptors are going to get really, really sensitive to the point where they're not really responding to other things because they're looking for a higher, like a different type of a response. And now it's like, well, nothing else seems to be working. So it's really not good to take things that can really alter your brain chemistry. Now let's also take a look at other types of things. Maybe it's sugar. The more sugar you eat, the more sugar you want, because, well, that's just what dopamine does. Again, that's for another conversation. But the point I'm trying to make here is that whenever you have any type of a receptor, the sensitivity of it can change. And if a message comes in and it's not a strong enough message, it's not really going to affect those cells. So while my husband and I are sitting there and chatting with each other and having our morning coffee and doing whatever while this music's going on, it's pretty nice. But we're awake and we're doing stuff. So it's not affecting us as much as it was affecting the dogs. Now you put that same music into a meditation and you lie there and you breathe nice and quietly so that there's no other noise going on. Whoa, now I can feel it. Now I'm riding that wave. When you're looking at anything that's frequency-based, whether it's aromatherapy frequency, herbalism frequency, sound frequency, different type of frequencies, you've got to give those cells that space and environment to pick up the message and do what you want it to do. And let's go back just a little bit here to those electrical signals. So we have those neurotransmitters, hormones. One of those hormones is cortisol. So if I'm running from a bear and cortisol is running through my body, that sound isn't going to really help me a whole heck of a lot. Those dogs, if I play that music when I have them out at the park and they start chasing after a bunny rabbit, yeah, that music is doing nothing for those guys. They are gone, because the messages going to those cells are way too strong. So when you're in a nice relaxed space, you get a better effect, the effect that you want to get. Now, the other thing that happens is neurotransmitters also talk to other neurotransmitters. So there's no secrets here going on in the body. So cortisol talks to glutamate. So it says, hey, I'm going to make you alert. And then serotonin tells the dopamine to move. So there's these chain reactions that actually happen within the body. So if you want to use sound for healing and vibration for healing, you've got to get quiet enough and let it happen. Just taking a really deep breath changes the chemistry in your body. It changes those hormones. It creates an environment that the sound is going to work better. Let's jump into a little bit more science. Studies show that exposing water to sand and cells to these sound waves create patterns. Now we are 60 to 70% water, so we kind of fall into that category. Our cells create patterns based on sound. Those patterns within the tissues, within the organs, are always moving around. So if you can create a different pattern, it's going to function differently. Remember how I was saying that the body is so complex, and the more you understand about the body, the more this is going to make sense to you. We've talked about the vagus nerve, the dorsal and the ventral vagus nerve, as well as the sympathetic nervous system. So let's go back to that vagus nerve for a second. That vagus nerve, it's not listening to one message. It's not going to respond in the ears the same way it responds in the heart, the same way it responds in the lungs, the intestines, the spleen and the liver and the kidneys and all these different things in our body. The nerve is going to work differently based on the area that it's going to. The messages are actually going to be just a little bit differently because they all function differently. The other thing that we know is that our thoughts affect these neurotransmitters. Our thoughts, just thinking about something you love, thinking about something you're grateful for, releases a specific neurotransmitter, a specific hormone. Thinking about something you don't like releases a different neurotransmitter. And let's make this really oversimplified. You are running from a bear. You don't like this situation. You are not happy. You are going to die. Do not tell me to take a deep breath. I am not doing mindful meditation right now. Get out of my way. You do not like this. your body will respond to those thoughts. Your body is responding to your perception of your environment. If you have your back to the bear and you're not aware of the bear, your body doesn't respond. It needs awareness to respond. So if you are running from that bear and I'm terrified, your body is releasing hormones needed to run from the bear, like cortisol. Then once you're all safe and cozy and relaxed, you're now comfortable. The moment you feel safe, your body releases different hormones. But if you don't feel safe, then forget it. So the key in any kind of self-healing is the feeling of safety. That's where you're going to get your maximum benefit out of any healing, is to try and feel safe, even for a few moments. Feel safe. It's near impossible to feel grateful, gratitude, and appreciation while you're running from that bear. It's also near impossible to feel that while you're crashed out from exhaustion, burnt out, not caring about life. That little sweet spot in the ventral vagus nerve that we talk about, that's where all of that happens. So if you start feeling really grateful and appreciative, it strengthens that vagus nerve. It's one of the first exercises we often do when trying to get into self-healing and getting over this nervous system being all over the place from trauma and pain, is go into a place of gratitude. Just find something you can be grateful for, something that you love. Hold a baby, cuddle with a puppy, sit on a beach, anything. Because being in that space is like doing a 10K run for your body, but it's strengthening that vagus nerve. Now, sound can also strengthen that vagus nerve, the ventral vagus nerve. And that sound, when it stimulates that vagus nerve, is going to send messages to your organs. So just think about strum, boom, it hit your liver. Strum, boom, it hit your kidney. Different sounds is going to be a different message. It's like a language that your body understands. So they've done testing on different frequencies have different effects on the body because it hits the nervous system. So if you can affect the nerves, then you can affect those neurotransmitters, you can change the experience that human body is having. It's what you do with medication. It's what we do with manual therapy. We're trying to manipulate it for a more positive experience. And our thoughts are doing the same thing. You have a positive thought, and it's going to have a very specific reaction within your body, within that vagus nerve. This is a super highway that so many people are talking about right now, because we know that strengthening that ventral vagal is the sweet spot where healing happens, where you can connect to your higher self, your inner self. That's where your chakra alignment goes up through that same area. We really do know a lot more about this now. So that sound frequency is just another way to hit that system. Which then led me to the thought of, okay, you've got all these different frequencies. The first thing I looked at was the earth vibrates at 7.83 hertz. They call this the Schumann resonance. They talk about walking on the ground bare feet is supposed to connect with the frequency of the earth to relax. Well, if you want to connect with the earth to relax, why would you go up to 1,000 hertz if the earth is down here? So, and the reason being is because different frequencies, remember, are doing different things. So I'm going to go through these different frequencies that they've tested and what it does. So remember, think of the frequency as a sound. And that sound is like a little guitar strum. And that guitar strum is hitting that vagus nerve. And that vagus nerve is saying, boom, I'm sending a message to a very specific spot. It's like somebody knocking on your door with a message. So between 12 and 30, boost alertness. So if you want to get up and wake up, you're looking at 12 to 30 hertz. 40 to 100 has been shown to stimulate cell growth in the brain, great for Alzheimer's and problem solving. Some research believe that 432 is mathematically aligned with the universe and decreases anxiety and promotes heart coherence. This is where the Fibonacci sequence or natural harmonic vibrations come in. 528 stimulates DNA to jump into action and repair cells by affecting the water molecules and creates a feeling of peace. 639 promotes love, especially in relationships to other people. 741 supports detoxing. I had a hard time finding evidence, but there was some research that was done showing that there was less cell death with this frequency. 852 increases awareness, intuition, and spiritual insights. 963 is the frequency of the universe, enlightenment, or your third eye. Now, I did do a bit of research because if 432 is the mathematical equation, how is 963 the frequency of the universe, enlightenment? And it has more to do with the mathematical equation is the actual equation of the universe, and 962 is the expansion of the physical world. 432 would be like a base tuning to the universe, and 963 pushes the brain to higher states than it's used to. So then you can blend these sounds. You can use binary beats, one sound in one ear and one sound in the other, and it forces the brain to make connections. So it stimulates those brain neurons. And if you've ever seen any videos of neurons come together, it's the coolest thing ever. So when choosing how you wish to make yourselves healthy, it doesn't really matter what you choose, but the more you add in, obviously, the better it gets. There are a lot of different ways to start working on that vagus nerve. There's a lot of different ways of trying to manipulate these tissues. It's not as though one is always better than the other. It's always about what's working for you. And if you're just getting into healing, just do a little bit at a time. You don't have to do it all at once. It would be like somebody introducing you to food for the first time. You'd get overwhelmed if you tried eating it all. Just slowly play around and see what you like and see what you don't like. And maybe you try something for a while and then try something different. That's the other thing that happens is think about exercise. When you are working out, anybody who's a personal trainer understands this well. When you're working out, if you're doing the same exercise all the time, the body adapts and it adapts very quickly. So then you have to change it up. Change up your routine, change your reps, change your sets, change the weight of it. You have to make a change because the body adapts. So if you've got sounds you really, really like, maybe set it aside for a little while, try something different and come back to it. Try something else. Try using different types of sounds for different things and just see how your body responds to it. Because remember, maybe one sound is supposed to be good for this, but remember that it can affect other things. So you could listen to one sound and say, oh, I listened to, 528 and all of a sudden my third eye opened up. That's not supposed to happen. Well, how do you know that? Maybe that neurotransmitter triggered another neurotransmitter, which triggered another neurotransmitter, right? The body is so complex that you got to just have fun with it because this is the way it works. It's more of a dance within the body. And there's a lot of different ways to get the same effect. You got to do what works best for you. You can spend time in nature, read a good book, eat healthy foods, get exercise, surround yourself with people you love, people, places, things, listen to frequency music, do meditations, affirmations. There's so many different things. You got to build up your palette and slowly add in more and slowly start to blend it. I'm a bit of a slow learner. So when I first started doing meditations, I started very basic. And then I added a bit more. And then I added a bit more. And then I added a bit more. It's not a race. Just because one guru might do it this way doesn't mean that that's the way it's got to work for you. It's not how healing works. Now I'm going to go off topic here just a little bit because I think it's really important. Remember I said everything is connected, and the more you learn, the more you get to integrate it. So now that you've got a base knowledge, okay, yes, sound frequency works, but it's not going to be the end all and be all. Some people might get something different at it. You've got to decide what works best for you. And the more healing you do, the better it's going to work. It's going to be like an investment, and start playing around with it. So what if it's not working at first? Give yourself some time, get adjusted to it, let your body get a feel for it, see what you like and what you don't like. But the other thing that I do want to bring up before finishing up today is the concept of beliefs. Our entire reality is based on what we believe to be true, and collectively what we believe to be true. Also, what we believe is how we create. So without a belief system, you're not going to be able to create anything. Who you are today, what you are today, every cell that's vibrating in your body today is based on that belief system. That belief system will always keep you safe. If you at any point in time do not feel safe, you will change that belief system in a heartbeat. Safety is the most important thing. But belief systems are there fundamentally to keep you safe. Even bad habits are there to keep you safe. And the mind is very, very, very fragile. It is very easy to create a belief that's not within your control, but it's very hard to change it once it's been created. So this is why the whole changing your beliefs out there, I'll give you just one little pointer. It can't happen too fast because it shakes the foundation of your reality, and the brain will resist that. So if you don't believe something to be true, then it might work if it's a very strong physiological response. But let's say it's in healing and it's like, okay, I really wish I could believe in that so that it worked. Give yourself time. Over time, with repetition, that belief will slowly shift. And this is why sometimes you can like back smack somebody right in front of the face and show them, and they're like, I don't believe it. And you can even be in a position where somebody could throw something in your face and you say, I see it, but I don't believe it. And I don't understand why I don't believe it. This is really, really weird. It's a very bizarre experience to have, but it is a thing. The brain does take time. Give your brain that time to catch up. If you have a want or desire to change a belief system, to change one of these habits, then give yourself time. Trying to do too much at once is going to lead to failure. So add in a little bit. Make it a little bit of a habit. Play around with it here, play around with it there. Give it a try. And let's say you start playing around with, we're talking about sound frequency today. You start playing around with sound frequencies. Play around with it for a while. And if you don't feel any effects for a year, who cares? Doesn't matter. Maybe you feel effects right away. And maybe it starts to shift your belief system, and then other things start to happen. It can be very layered. So ultimately, sound frequency is wonderful. It's amazing. Go to YouTube and find all these different vibrations. Grab a tuning fork, get a tuning fork treatment. You can go to some singing bowls classes. You can go to a church where there's organs. But the belief system does need to be wrapped around that sound. My suggestion is once you have a little bit of an idea of, okay, I kind of get how that works, let it go, start playing around with it, start trying it. I have a free program on my website at intoheals.ca where we go through increasing your vibration, and it starts with the MEPS protocol: mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual. And I walk you through how to self-assess, how to work with it, and slowly peel away the layers like an onion of those beliefs and gently heal yourself, gently change those beliefs, and gently make those changes. Happy healing, and we will see you in the next episode.